Welcome back to Streamline Entertainment. It's Marvin. We're going to get into a video by British Telly Clips, and it's money laundering via Snapchat. And it's very, very interesting to see what these guys are involved in, how they do it and why. Let's get straight into this.
Everyone wants to be the next couple Insta-model, but they just need the money. 15 laps out there. This is all it takes to get me excited. No, too far.
With fraud and scamming on the rise, criminal gangs are always on the lookout for people willing to lend them their bank accounts to receive and withdraw that unlawful cash. The people whose bank accounts are being used by these fraudsters are called money mules.
They said within 3-4 days there'll be like $4 grand in the account and you can have half.
But why would people let criminals use their bank account when it could result in paying the price for someone else's crime?
More often than not, this presents a red flag for banks, which can get you blacklisted and done for money laundering, which could land you in jail for up to 14 years. I want to investigate this new crime trend by speaking to the police, the victims, and also the recruiters, manipulating people online to launder cash.
I think these gangsters, or these crimesters, I do think that they prey on people who are desperate for the money, that maybe got a few debts, and tell them that they're not going to, they won't get done for it, nothing will happen, it's just going to be a slap on the wrist. And the smallest thing that could happen, this bank could just shut your bank account. But no, it's way more than that.
I'm with Banks and Shanks, two fraudsters who don't want their crimes traced back to them. So instead, they recruit money mules. They're meeting up with one of them, who's just received money from their latest bank fraud into his account. As payment for letting them use his bank details, or deets, they're giving him a cut and returning his square, which is roadman for bank card.
How did you meet Banks and Shanks?
Snapchat,
Snap.
literally see a post. Ever since that, I found out that it was easy to make money. And then ever since then, we've been doing business.
And are you nervous about the risks involved and all of that?
It's what it is, isn't it? The game goes, when you really certain things, that's the deal you have to do.
So how much did you just give my man?
Giving him 2.5 bags.
2.5 bags? So what do you think he does with that money next?
Sky's the limit, he can do anything with it. If he wants to go out and spend it all on design line, he'll do that. If he wants to save it, it's not what to do.
Banks, Shanks and their mule look like brethrens, but really they're fully using him and could get my man blacklisted by banks, ruin his credit rating, and even worse, he could get arrested.
Do you ever tell the money mules the risks beforehand?
To some people, sometimes I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to speak to you a certain way so you don't feel like you have a choice and you feel coerced into it. Manipulate. I don't say that. It's the truth.
It's like Eve just said it. The money laundering guy, he don't really give a toss. Once that business is done, it's strictly business. Whether you get done for it or whether you get blacklisted or whether you go to prison, you signed up for something. As long as they get their money, they don't care. And if they don't get their money, it could lead to a lot of violence and trouble coming your way. This isn't a game to them. It's just business. You got yourself involved. You said yes. So you have to carry the can.
Banks and Shanks almost exclusively recruit their mules through social media.
Oh, you got some cash on you now? Oh, snap. Ross. Wait, how much is that? Do you know? Oh, jeez.
You can see that this is big business, people. We're going to move on to part 2, but like I said, if you ever want to buy a house or a car or finance, it could take you years and years, or you could even get a criminal record for it, years for your credit to get back to normal. That was part 1, people. Going to move on to part 2. Move on to part 2, people.
Oh, jeez. it's risk free, but you know.
Kind of is. You think you do nothing about it.
So, where exactly did all this cash come from?
You might do. You might do this.
Man can't even get into detail, fam. I was like, Jesus, I'm guessing it's something illegal.
Probably.
Yeah. So you made the post. Someone's replied. What's the next steps from that?
The next step from that is anything, date of birth, phone name, address, phone number, picture of your ID, and then probably within the next day or two to get some money.
For them, they've got all your details. So if you don't go through with it and you said you would, that could be a problem. And they've got your address as well. So technically, even if you're scared, you've got to go through with it because they've got all your details. It's just a merry-go-round which works for the people who are getting people to sign up, basically to put money into their bank accounts, and these guys get away scot-free until they get caught with all their money in the house, and it could be years, or they could be getting away with it for years and years and years, and putting their money into something which is legit. Do you know what I mean? So they've got something, or they've built something which technically is not theirs, that they've got it through crime, and they're using other people's hard-earned money. It is out of order, but like I said, these things happen.
Actually, go there, get screen, check out the no detail, and then police kick out, or go to the bank and join it. You can make signage, or go around like it. The reason why we police kicked out sometimes, because if they wanna try to check down the money, it's kicked out, so it's like the way it is.
So it's just harder to trace, isn't it?
That's what it's all about. Taking extra money, not 100%, but getting money to the bank and asking to get to the bank.
What would you do if, like, you send it to someone's account and then it already gets locked, like the feds are already on it, and it's just trapped?
If it's trapped, it's trapped. That's a different story. Taking the money out without my permission.
Okay.
Take it out without my permission. Sympathize to get in, you know?
So it's pure violence if they take your money? Well, no, you need to take this away from me if I get too carried away, bro.
There you go. You're dealing with organised crimes, you're dealing with people that you don't really know. They've got all your details, and you know, they know where you live. If you try to run for the money, they're gonna come and get you, because they know that you've got to go back to that home one day, and you can't be running for a long time. I've heard some real stories in the times I've been basically into looking into how to resolve crime or help people. I've heard some stories in my time, trust me, about people who have got involved into this, and it can end really, really badly.
These are young guys, just teenagers, walking around with £15,000 in a book bag like it's nothing. They don't see the repercussions, they don't see the possible jail time, they just want to make money fast.
In 2020, there were almost 26,000 suspected money mule cases in the UK involving 14 to 30-year-olds. Sky News has reported that people younger than 25 are 6 times more likely to fall victim to criminals on social media than over 50s. I'm checking the apps to see just how easy it is to get coerced into money muling.
I've just made a fake Snapchat and a fake Instagram account, and on my Instagram I've portrayed myself as being into flashy clothes, expensive jewelry, liking partying and going out, and I've typed in the explore page quick cash, and I followed every single page that's come up, and I've started DMing potential recruiters asking them how do I get involved, basically. I've done the same for Snapchat. I've typed in.
Going to move on to part 3, but like I said, this is a game where it works for the scammer, the people get involved. They've got no accountability for the people who are using their own bank accounts, and they prey on people maybe in debt or vulnerable, or even in, you know, that even got a small drug problem or even a bigger drug problem. All that money, and they're still buying tech fleece. Why even bother laundering small amounts of money? I got the night tech part 3. Yeah, we move on to part 3, people. But like I said, it is interesting because, like I said, it is something that can easily be done and easily get yourself into trouble as well. Move on to part 3, people.
Typed in quick cash, make money, and one of them's even replied to me now saying, "Who's this?" Oh, mate.
Within minutes, I get a list of information the recruiter wants from me.
This happened all within the space of 10-15 minutes. This guy obviously doesn't care about whether I'm gonna get away with this. So I could potentially get 14 years. I'm just being used.
But not all money mules are recruited on social media. Many get persuaded by friends and family.
So you've been a money mule. So do you mind speaking about your experience and how they approached you?
I got approached by a family member. They had done it a few times with someone that approached them. I sort of got pressured by that family member to do it. When I agreed to do it, they said, give me bank details, give me a card, give me a PIN number in it. Obviously, nowadays, you would never give your bank details to anyone, would you? You know what I mean? But I did that and they said, leave it with us. Within 3-4 days, there'll be like 4 grand in your account in it. And you can have half. With that family member I was dealing with, they was going to take a little bit. That was the sort of deal with it. Like, the money went into the account, and whoever had my card bought like 2 grand's worth of gold. That's what it says on the statement or something like that. Yeah, so obviously that money's came out so quick.
Yeah.
It's alerted the bank in it. Do you know what I mean? So the bank's obviously put a block on it. So that person's took their half out. But the other half that was supposed to be mine, and the person I was doing it with, obviously got frozen in it, you get me? So that's how it went wrong.
So what was the outcome of that?
When it happened, they froze my account, first of all. I had a letter come through the post, and it was like a fit letter in it, and they said, you owe like £4,000 in it. And I said to him, well, have you called the police in it? And they says, nah, we haven't done an investigation. So basically I've said to them, how do you know it wasn't fraud on my account? After that, they wiped that off, and 3 years later they sent me a £25 check and I apologised.
Oh.
For closing my bank, because they couldn't actually prove it was fraud.
Okay then.
I didn't make nothing from it, I didn't profit from it.
Because what it is as well, what I've heard is sometimes the money is moved around so much and ends up into this person's account. They're not even too sure sometimes where it's actually come from, to be honest with you. I think he got lucky, to be honest with you, but I bet he won't do that again in a hurry.
Stupid mistake. I know some people have done like 50 grand, and that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
4 grand. So alright, and it got 30 grand or 50, 60 grand, that's when things happen.
People
So
start
at the
getting
time
greedy.
that they approached you when you were younger, did you know that you could possibly get up to 14 years for money laundering?
Fucking, I had no clue, 14 years. Like, I probably would have come out of jail in my life.
The thing is, it obviously depends which bank you bank with and whether you've got regular money coming into that bank as well. But like I said, if people are going to do up to 50 grand, that's going to and get greedy, that's going to ask some seriously big questions, people. We move on to part 4.
Years for money laundering.
Fucking, I had no clue, 14 years. Like, I probably would have come out of jail in my late 30s. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I didn't have a clue. Otherwise, you wouldn't even touch it. It's like murder.
There you go. There you go. People just think the least the bank can do is close their bank account and they're not having to put the money back. What you've got to realise is if the bank get alerted and they've taken half the money back because they've got your bank account, some of them do, they've got their money. You're probably not going to see these people again at the end of the day. But like I said, because you signed up for it and you couldn't get the other 2 grand out, that's not their problem. They're not taking responsibility for that.
You know what I mean? It's like murder sort of thing, man sort of shit.
I think Raphael was extremely lucky. He managed to get the 4K that he was asked to launder completely wiped from his account. And he was even given a £25 check as an apology. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't believe it was worth it, because he was still blacklisted from that bank for several years and his credit score was severely affected. And it kind of highlights the way that money mules see this crime. They see it as low risk, when that's far from the case.
The National Crime Agency has set up a special task force dedicated to fighting this type of financial crime. It's often international gangs behind these schemes, trying to launder their illegal cash.
So what we've got here is a criminal group who are carrying out what we call business email compromise. They send emails to a company, making the company think it's just a normal supplier saying, oh, we've changed our bank account this month. So they're asking this company to pay money into a slightly different account. The criminals need that account to look absolutely normal. So they want a UK account. There's no point having an account in China or Afghanistan. That's going to look dodgy. They want it to be a high street bank. They want it to look totally normal. So to do that, the criminals need to recruit some money mules. So firstly, they'll have a recruiter, a mule herder, a picker, whose job will be to go out and find the mules. So they might use coercion, they might use force, they might threaten young people to do it, they might use deception, so pretend it's actually something completely legitimate, or they might just recruit people and be completely upfront about what they're doing and just say, if you move £500, you get to keep 50. So in this case, you've got a recruiter who's forced one person to be involved, so the money is immediately going into their account. And to make it even harder for us to track them down, they're then using 2 other mules to move the account. And then finally, what we're seeing here is the final individual is being asked to transfer all the money through a money service business, which is a specialist business involved in moving money abroad, and the criminals will pick it up. So you've got a complex transaction web that starts with the theft of money, and it ends with some, but not all of that money, going back into the hands of the criminal. And they are using a network of mule herders and money mules to help them avoid getting caught, make the money look clear.
It's quite a operation, because like I said, you do hear a lot of some people I've interviewed get on old stuff that I used to do on criminal activity, and a lot of people sometimes do get away with it because the bank doesn't really know where all this money has come from, especially if it's small amounts.
And get that money out of the country.
And what are the said consequences of money laundering?
So if you're a money mule, you can get arrested, you can get prosecuted, you can end up in prison. But I think the issue that we're really worried about in terms of consequences is if you agree to take part in money laundering and the bank spots it and they seize the money and they freeze the money, you might quickly find that you owe a nasty criminal group a lot of money, and they're not going to take no for an answer. So we are concerned in particular about young people who are told that this is an easy way of making money. You know, you just go into the bank, move this, no big deal, we'll leave a few quid in your account. And all of a sudden they owe debt to a criminal group, and that debt is going to come with interest, and they're not going to be happy if you don't pay. We spend our time hearing victim stories where you have people losing their homes and losing their livelihoods. You know, you've got all sorts of cases around people committing suicide because they've lost their life savings. In terms of money muling, I think what we want people to understand is that they're just a piece in the chain. And they...
Of course. And like I said, these people at the top of the chain, they don't give a toss about you. If you get caught, or you get arrested, or you got to answer questions, and you lose money, they're still going to want something from you or get you to do it on another bank account. They just won't leave it there.
You might not see the whole picture, but what they're doing is enabling violence to take place.
The NCA are focusing their efforts on tracking down the gangs and recruiters rather than the mules themselves, who are often tricked into it. But that still leaves young people who fall for these schemes exposed to potential violence from criminals, not to mention jeopardizing their futures. At the moment, it's like mule recruiters can post what they want and get away with it.
It seems like the social media companies themselves could be doing a lot more to validate its users and regulate its content, stopping the recruiters being on the platform in the first place.
That was very, very interesting. Money laundering via Snapchat, how easy and how easily it could just mess your life up, especially if you want to get your own home. I do think people think it's a quick cash scheme, and they're not really looking at, they're looking at the money, they're not really looking that they could get arrested for it, or it could affect their life in the long run, or even opening another bank account. I think these are things that need to be put out there and looked into. I think it's very, very, very important. Let me know what you think, people. Don't forget to subscribe to Streamline Entertainments. And that was British Teleclips. I thought it was a really, really good insight into how a snippet of money laundering via Snapchat works. Thank you very much for that. Take care, people.